Good afternoon. I think it's always a difficult session to do it, right? Just before the coffee break. And I see that this room is set up to kind of reflect the real world. It's extremely warm in here. So, compared to, where I have come from and the outside weather this morning. But anyway, that is just a lighter note to start with. So, the simpler name is Subi. And thank you. I think you almost got it right. Subramanian Kuppuswami. I head sustainable banking, finance, and investments as part of Tata Consultancy Services. The intent is to help our financial services customers drive sustainability as a business strategy. And I have my partner here, Shraddha, who is part of Iris Solutions. So we are partners today in terms of implementing certain solutions for standardizing, digitalizing data today. So that's what we will present today with. So this is just to set a background. We are part of TCS, part of the broader Tata Group, and we do quite a bit of work in sustainability and across the globe. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But so what is it that we see? I mean, it is not something new to this audience here, right? I think all of you see these challenges. So I'm not going to cover them all, but primarily from a consumption of data perspective, right? When it comes to ESG data. So this has been a stumbling block. So everybody wants ESG data to drive better results, better impact, and so on and so forth. But we've always had this challenge of, an universally accepted non-financial reporting framework. I know I'm stepping into a little bit of a difficult territory, but it is everybody craves for it. But it has been evolving. A lot of things have been happening. I'm sure a lot of sessions have happened since yesterday. But everybody craves for it from a consumption of data perspective. And of course, the lack of uniformity as well when multiple of these standards exist today. And the consistency and comparability of data. Even this morning, I had a chat with one of the large banks today. Everybody, they want this kind of a data, I mean, which they can really drive their investment financing decisions based on, but doesn't exist today. So there's a lot of work that happens as well, I'm sure. Some part of what Maria touched upon helps them with all those as well. And one of the biggest ones, of course, is all this data today is limited only to large enterprises, right? Listed companies, only those who have the obligation to make these disclosures, but they are not the entire universe, right? 70% of the universe is still maybe small and medium enterprises, private companies who do not even. So we are not even moving the needle, even if we are addressing the challenge with the data from large enterprises. Of course, accessibility, data quality, traceability. I think all of this you are aware of. So I'm not going to go into that. But so this is the challenge that we see is driving, why we get into the whole digitalization of standards. Of course, fully, in cognizance with how technology can disrupt this. So I don't know who's the gentleman who raised that question of the one question, but it was a valid question. In fact, that we were debating outside when we were having lunch. So if Gen AI comes in, do we really need to digitalize standards? If a technology can just read 400 pages of PDF and give me, nice summary and all the data points, do I really need to digitalize standards? So my riposte to that was, okay, there is no Boolean, right? I mean, it's not a 0 or 1 world. I think all these things need to carry on. I think that was the response as well. So which I found it very nice. I mean, it ended with that question. So both things will continue to happen. While technology evolves and it can alleviate some of the pain points, we still believe digitalization of standards is a critical way forward. Of course, it enables the reporters, the enterprises, to be very flexible with their data handling, how they collect, how they map, because there's a lot of manual work that happens today. And it also simplifies their reporting as well and how they effectively present this data, because at the end of the day, all these disclosures are being consumed in one form or the other to make further decision in the value chain. So how do they really present this? So of course, this will be a step. At the same time, while technology can keep playing that role till we reach that kind of maturity, the percentages were being debated upon, whether 95, 97, 99, whichever percentage of accuracy that we can reach to. But at the same time, digitalization is a key. And of course, from a same point, from an ecosystem point of view, this will make the data digitally consumable. Again, whether if the reports themselves are machine readable, then do we really need digitally consumable data? Again, in my view, it will go hand in hand. Having said that, one of the points that you touched upon, Maria, as well, right, in the whole digitalization perspective, it can also help in improving the data itself that is being captured today. So I was very happy that you touched upon that. While we do this process, how do you continue to capture more metadata, right? When we do the digitalization, which is already happening, when we do this whole kind of exercise, we do capture a lot of data. I like the example that you gave as well, from in terms of what scope and emission means. It is not the whole idea of creating this digitalized taxonomy is not to say, okay, column A, which I'm sure all of you are from the programming world, the key value pair type of a thing. I mean, it's not, the intent is not just to create a 2-column thing, but it is to improve the quality of the data, and which can then be consumed by machines as well when they learn more and more. So today we say this in broadly 3 steps, right? No brainer if you really see at the end of the day when this block gets completed, but we do need a way of standards working across, and even disclosing companies still having the need to disclose across multiple standards. Again, I'm not using that word, but the ultimate aim will be to achieve that. So to start, of course, we do take a specific standard. How is it being adopted by various sectors? Maybe within a sector, you could dive deep as well as to how it is being reported, and then essentially convert those data elements to a more that is being disclosed today to a data dictionary, which then of course flows nicely into how do we convert this whole data dictionary into a taxonomy as well. And this is where, in my view, XBRL plays a huge role. Of course, is it only XBRL? Maybe we can use multiple other standards as well, but in my view, XBRL is a nice segue because it's already adopted very well for financial reporting, so it becomes easier for non-financial reporting as well. So how do we then create this whole taxonomy aligned data schema, and then convert this into a more publishable or XBRL taxonomy? This is how we are approaching this. We have something that we are already partnering with. Shraddha will get into a little bit more details on how we are doing this as well from a I would say more technically, but yeah. So I will leave it there. So this is something that we feel will achieve that next level that all of us have been craving about, in terms of hopefully all the standards have this digital taxonomy, and then the data itself, which is being disclosed, is available digitally as well. So now this leads me to what's the success, or what's the inflection point between digitalized taxonomy? Because it's all nice to build all this digitalized taxonomy, but who's the ultimate consumer, right? It's primarily enterprises, and in this case, potentially you can say maybe I'm a little bit colored in this view in terms of banks and financial institutions, but I see every one of them doing this today because they're all trying to create their own enterprise ESG taxonomy today. So of course, what goes into it? What are those material ESG themes? Again, I know I'm using the word ESG. There can be some purists who can always, but that is what it is today. That is our world is saying it. But there could be multiple topics which are material to an institution. So they choose those and then see, what kind of data do they need to collect, which is within the enterprise, their own data, their counterparty data, and so on and so forth. What kind of tools do they use? This is where the digitalized taxonomies could come in. And of course, all this enables them with their interaction layer as well, in terms of multiple disclosures. The reason why I'm touching upon this is, while we, continue to evolve with digitalization, ultimately, all these folks, all these businesses have the need to make their disclosures across multiple standards. That doesn't go away. So again, it needs to be a constant journey. And while they are building, this is where I think digitalized standards could nicely flow into when enterprises are building such ESG taxonomies as well. So we believe this will enable the businesses which are doing this move forward also. And of course, once this is there, then the whole game can change. When the standards are fully digitalized, and then the data itself becomes machine consumable. And this is where we see a lot of opportunity for artificial intelligence and ML based models. And of course, today with Gen AI as well, multiple use cases, all those use cases are possible. And definitely this will start driving a lot of insights, which can really, change the way investment financing decisions are taken. Of course, the consumers are on the other side of it as well. So this is just to give a broad view of why we believe, digitalization of standards will have a critical role to play in the future. And with that, I will hand over to Shraddha to dive deeper onto, how we are managing digitalization itself. And then we'll take questions also. Over to you.
Okay, thanks, Subi, for the setting the context. And I think this 2 days is been very exhaustive on the sustainability side. What are things we need to learn and what are the takeaways? So I think this is some of the interesting thing that we thought of sharing across, wherein we have the standards, we have the data. Then what is the future, right? So the journey from standards to data to AI is something that you would like to discuss and throw some ideas on that. So, my name is Shraddha and I belong to Iris Business Services Limited. It's based in India and I'm heading the customer success head as well as the taxonomy development side of it as well. Just a kind of a brief introduction. Iris is a listed company. We work mostly with the regulators across globe in the implementation of taxonomies. That's why we are also known as a RegTech SaaS company. So that's a brief introduction from my company's side. I won't take much of the time here. So, like Subi mentioned already, right, there is a need for every enterprise to report. They are reporting, having different standards in place. So, how this entire exercise will go ahead in the digital world moving forward. So, this is something that we would like to share here. Like, whenever an enterprise would like to implement a taxonomy, what are the things that they need to consider, right? So, probably it's like understanding the organization needs. It's not only the jurisdiction need, because it's now we are focusing centric on the enterprise side. So it's very important to understand what are the organization goals and responsibilities, what are the metrics, what are the different kind of topics that they would need to report, right? So that's why we also need to understand the relevant taxonomy structure, how it has to be defined or designed, right? And different types of taxonomies on a regular basis needs to be adopted, needs to be updated. So this is a kind of an entire different journey altogether, right? Of course, when FRAG or the ISSB shares the taxonomy for the enterprise, it will be very difficult to integrate and come up with a one set of report. So the idea is if one set of understanding is there and we have a normal way of reporting, which is the XBRL way of reporting, which is globally accepted, it's like recognized, it's like commonly used. So taking that as a base, as a data standard, we are thinking to have the enterprise taxonomy created on the XBRL grounds. Yeah. So in the next slide, you will see is the how the enterprise taxonomy development process will work. Right. So I think it's pretty much in detail, but I won't cover it. I'll keep it very short. So whenever we talk about taxonomy development process, it's pretty much the same. We need to understand the requirements. We need to understand what are the things that go in the taxonomy, identify the key concepts, decide the data modeling. Then probably you create a taxonomy, and then the validation rules, logic, integration, then training, awareness is what something will come in. But when we are talking specifically on the enterprise taxonomy, right, there are certain additional things that we need to understand, right? So, like, it's going to be a multiple set of taxonomies together. So, we need to understand if we want to normalize things, what are the things or challenges that needs to come in the non-financial reporting. So, we need to understand what are the objectives, set a properly scope of that particular taxonomies, decide, involve stakeholders from the multiple jurisdiction as well if the company is like based across globe, and then probably we need to identify which all modeling will take care of this requirement, right? So the process from third to last is remain the same, because the data modeling where XBR will come in, and probably the creation part, the review part goes on, right? And the second last point is on the integration of the reporting system, where we have to integrate the taxonomy within the source system of the company, right? So there will be another set of requirements that we need to cater for, understand, and then integrate the reportings in the system as well. And definitely, maintenance is something that is very critical. So we need to make sure that all the taxonomies and everything is in line, updated on a regular basis, just to make sure whatever is going on is regularly updated in the taxonomy. So this is just a high overview of how we are envisioning this entire process. So definitely once we have a taxonomy in place, right, definitely we will need some tools which we can, see how it can be used, because it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same. So what are the things that every tool will have to take care, right? Because it will have some integration point, a tagging point. When we talk about artificial intelligence, we need some data modeling on that side, right? Mapping of the data. So those all things will be taken care when you want to design a kind of an enterprise taxonomy. So these are just a kind of a broad views on that side. So in the next slide, I would like to just talk about the journey from standards to XBRL data to AI, right? So I think everybody knows the entire flow, but just reiterating the same thing. So once we have the standards, we identify what are the requirements or what are the information that goes into the taxonomy. We defined it. Then we design the taxonomy. Then we create a digital reporting, right? That's one piece of digital reporting. Now, when we want to move ahead with the digital reporting to the AI part, where I think Maria has already mentioned that we need to have a taxonomy which can read, which we can introduce the ML model, AI ML model, which we can define the patterns, make the system understand, what are the relationships or logics that the system should read, interpret, and then provide. So that's something that we are also thinking through. Some mechanism has to be there, and this particular journey from taxonomy design to digital reporting is going to be iterative, right? Every time there is a new things, you have to reiterate the things, look into things, define the models in a different way, and then probably the AI part will be more efficiently used. So I think once the AI is there, you can do the automation tagging. I think Maria already touched based on that. So I think we are on the same lines, probably. We are thinking on the same line. So this is what we see the future of, considering the sustainability reporting in place. And definitely once you can have the genetic AI as well, when you are modeling the taxonomy, we can see how ways it can be done. But this is just to have a brief idea of what exactly the concept that we are going to introduce here. Yeah, I think that's it about from my side. Thank you.
Thank you for those presentations. Thank you. Any questions? Is there a question?
Yeah.
Thank you. That was incredible. That's an overwhelming graph, by the way. I'm assisting a neobank in the Asia Pacific in a very small island, and my job is to help them think about what's going to come at them on a technology level. So what you're presenting is gives me a help, so I don't have to be the one telling them watch out. They're going to want these solutions, and they're going to buy software. So the software vendors for neobanks is something I'm very interested in. Does Tata look at that, or your business look at the software vendors supplying, because you're reg SaaS, right?
So thank you. So yeah, definitely, right? I mean, especially for smaller institutions, especially the ones that are starting out as a neobank, for them it becomes, in a way, a lot to catch up on, but it is also easier for them because they have absolutely no baggage of history per se as a compared to a larger financial institutions. So they can straight away jump into this. How do we do it? We can do it together, right? We can do it together as TCS and IRIS when it comes to these kind of implementations. But those are the institutions, in my view, will be able to quickly join the bandwagon of going into a digitalized report. They will just not have the baggage from or legacy to to manage. So definitely will be an opportunity. We can connect offline as well, but we can definitely look at how.
Any other questions before we all? It's very hot in
Before
here,
we
isn't
get
it?
out of
Well
the-
done for sticking through it. Well, in that case, I'm going to give you the last word. So we asked the question right at the start of this session: AI, friend or foe of XBRL and structured data. What do you say to that?
Let me do a measured response, right? See, as I started off, I think that's the debate we were having at lunch, right? If technology can do all the work, do we really need digitalization and a structured language and so on? So it's not that easy. I mean, it's not a 0 or 1, as I said. So both will have to go hand in hand. So that way, I think every technology evolution, how much ever we typically get terrified about, ultimately has turned out to be a friend for us. So I'm not too worried about that. But I'll just give a slightly different perspective to it as well, right? I mean, while Gen AI can do wonders for ESG, so what does ESG mean for Gen AI? I think that is also something, a food for thought. Because all this, from a broader sustainability ESG standpoint, when you use such technology, it comes with its own footprint. So it needs to be used responsibly. So that will be definitely one aspect of, what does ESG mean for Gen AI type of technologies. The second being the whole responsibility or the ethics around using AI and Gen AI, which is still quite a nascent topic. What will we finally agree upon? What is the responsible way of using artificial intelligence? That also will become, in my view, part of the larger governance disclosures in the future, maybe in the near future, right? Because we all know what Gen AI can do today. Mary also touched upon that, right? I mean, you can throw a 300, 400 page sustainability report. It can come and nicely summarize to you. It can tell you all the data. Now, if the machine can take all the decisions, if the machine can tell you everything, what is the responsibility or the accountability framework around it? And what kind of liability comes with it could become a governance topic in the future. So it's not just the one-way traffic, right? I mean, it's not Gen AI for ESG. It is also for ESG for Gen AI, in my view.
Absolutely. And I think how we build the knowledge and skills that's needed across the ecosystem, both for for those producing the products, they're using AI, to those actually using it as well. It's going to be really key forward. But thank you very much. Unless there's any final questions, we'll close for coffee at that point. And I think we're back in here. Well, we're back in here if you want to stick with the best. Quarter past 4, or if you want to go to one of the others, it's also at 4:15 back in here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.